The frozen halls of Nazareth were unnaturally silent. It wasn't the usual calm before a storm. No, it was different. As if the very air itself was holding its breath. Even the ever-present hum of magical energy seemed to have dimmed. And at the center of this stillness sat Ainz, his skeletal fingers strumming a restless beat against the armrest of his throne. His gaze, like a predator's, was fixed on the swirling vortex of the great tomb of Nazareth. His instincts, honed over countless gaming sessions, were screaming at him. Something was amiss. Something he couldn't quite grasp, but which sent icy tendrils of unease down his spine. It wasn't a change in the balance of magical energy that could be measured with magic. It was something more primal, something that spoke to the deep recesses of his being, the echoes of a world pushing back. A world that was tired of being dominated. Around him, two figures radiated an eerie glow, their forms stark against the cavernous darkness. Demiurge, with his crimson eyes burning like embers behind his spectacles, and Albedo, whose white hair and skin seemed to absorb the scant light, making her features as sharp and cold as winter stars. "Do you feel it?" Ainz asked, his voice a low rasp in the vast silence. "Yes, my lord," Demiurge responded, his tone betraying none of the turmoil that swirled within. "Resistance is forming. And not only among humans." It was true. Ever since Ainz had taken the throne, reports had trickled in from across the domains. Stories of tribes uniting in the wilderness of dragons, stirring in their ancient mountain lairs, and even whispers of discontent echoing within the slain theocracy. None of these were large enough threats to warrant immediate attention. Dragons were, after all, meant to be locked away, and Ainz had no desire to deal with them yet. But it was the unity that disturbed him, the coming together of disparate elements, each a small threat individually, but together forming a brewing storm. Meanwhile, in the heart of the human kingdom, now little more than a graveyard of memories, Clime's movement was stirring. His call for unity had resonated with many, and the scattered remnants of nobles, merchants, and commoners were slowly coming together, drawn together by a shared grief and a desperate hope for change. Now known as the Regent's Fang, this underground network spread like a disease through the dying kingdom, taking root in the minds of the hopeless and the angry. They didn't attack, not yet. They observed, they listened, they prepared, they trained in secret, learning to fight, to survive, to resist. And every night, under the pale gaze of the moon, they would gather in the ruined palace, poring over maps, studying Nazareth's patrol patterns, watching, waiting for the chance to strike. At the center of it all was Climb, his spirit unbroken, his resolve hardening with each passing day. He was writing something that hadn't been seen in this dark age, something that shone with the light of defiance. A code of conduct, a set of rules for his followers to live by. It wasn't a call to arms, but it was a promise, a solemn vow. "We are not monsters fighting monsters," he read aloud, his voice echoing in the vast emptiness. "We are the line that says no more." Back in Nazareth, Ainz continued his grim vigil. He had seen enough scenarios in his life to recognize the signs. The world was responding to his rule, not like obedient NPCs, but like real players in a massive multiplayer game. And it was creating its own story, one that he wasn't in control of. A story where he was the monster, not the hero. If that was the case, then he would play the game his way. He would play to win. And so he made a decision. A decision that shocked even Demiurge and Albedo. He would offer peace. Not the kind that would obliterate his enemies, but the kind that would bind them to him. Peace through trade, autonomy, the right to self-governance in exchange for fealty and protection. In return, he would crush any who refused. It was a dangerous gambit, a tightrope walk between wisdom and treachery. But Ainz knew that sometimes the best way to destroy your enemy is not with fire and steel, but with the chains of obligation. Because peace, when offered by the undead, always comes with a hidden cost. As the emissaries of the undead king set out across the land, bearing gifts and promises, one thing was clear. The great tomb of Nazarick would not stand alone for long. The world was changing, and whether it was ready or not, it would soon be drawn into the ultimate game of survival.